William Shakespeare's Hamlet is not just a play. It is perhaps the most famous work of literature ever written, a timeless exploration of revenge, madness, mortality, and the human condition itself. For over 400 years, Hamlet has captivated audiences around the world with its complex characters, philosophical depth, and unforgettable lines. In today's video, we're diving deep into the world of Hamlet, exploring Shakespeare's life and the historical context that shaped this masterpiece, analyzing its themes of revenge and existential crisis, examining its unforgettable characters, and understanding why this tragic tale of a Danish prince continues to resonate with audiences in the 21st century. To understand Hamlet, we must first understand William Shakespeare himself. Born in 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon, England, Shakespeare lived during the Elizabethan era, a golden age of English culture, exploration, and artistic achievement. Queen Elizabeth I ruled England during most of Shakespeare's life, and her reign brought stability, prosperity, and a flourishing of the arts. Shakespeare grew up in a world of political intrigue, religious conflict, and rapid social change. England had recently broken away from the Catholic Church, and tensions between Protestants and Catholics ran high. The threat of invasion from Catholic Spain loomed over the nation, and questions of succession and legitimacy were constant concerns. Shakespeare himself came from a middle-class background. His father was a glove maker and local politician, and young William received a good education at the local grammar school, where he would have studied Latin, rhetoric, and classical literature. However, unlike many of the university-educated playwrights of his time, Shakespeare never attended university. Despite this, he became the greatest writer in the English language, perhaps the greatest writer who ever lived. By the 1590s, Shakespeare had established himself in London as both an actor and a playwright, and he became a shareholder in the Globe Theatre, one of the most important playhouses in England. Shakespeare wrote Hamlet around 1600 or 1601 during a particularly dark period in his life and in English history. Queen Elizabeth was aging and had no heir, creating uncertainty about England's future. There were fears of civil war, foreign invasion, and political chaos. At the same time, Shakespeare experienced personal tragedy. His only son, Hamlet, had died in 1596 at the age of just 11. This loss profoundly affected Shakespeare, and many scholars believe that the themes of death, grief, and the fragility of life that permeate Hamlet are connected to his mourning for his son. The name Hamlet itself is remarkably close to Hamnet, and while this may be coincidence, it adds a deeply personal dimension to the play. But Hamlet was also influenced by the broader cultural and intellectual currents of Shakespeare's time. The Renaissance had brought a renewed interest in classical learning, humanism, and the exploration of human psychology. People were asking fundamental questions about the nature of existence, the relationship between appearance and reality, and the limits of human knowledge. The Protestant Reformation had challenged traditional religious certainties, and new scientific discoveries were beginning to reshape humanity's understanding of the universe. It was an age of both tremendous possibility and profound anxiety, and Hamlet captures this tension perfectly. The story of Hamlet is set in the Kingdom of Denmark at Elsinore Castle. The play opens with the appearance of a ghost, the spirit of the recently deceased King Hamlet, father of Prince Hamlet. The ghost reveals to his son a terrible truth. He was not killed by a snakebite, as everyone believes, but was murdered by his own brother Claudius, who poured poison into his ear while he slept. After killing the king, Claudius seized the throne and married Queen Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, in what seems like indecent haste after her husband's death. The ghost demands that Hamlet avenge his murder, but warns him not to harm his mother, leaving her punishment to heaven and her own conscience. This revelation sets in motion the central conflict of the play. Hamlet is confronted with an impossible moral dilemma. On one hand, he feels a duty to avenge his father's murder, to restore justice and honor to Denmark. On the other hand, he is deeply uncertain about the ghost's truthfulness, about the morality of revenge, and about his own capacity for violence. Is the ghost really his father's spirit, or could it be a demon sent to tempt him into damnation? If he kills Claudius, will he be committing murder or executing justice? And even if revenge is justified, does he have the strength and ruthlessness required to carry it out? Hamlet's response to this dilemma is to feign madness. He adopts the behavior of a madman, speaking in riddles and acting erratically, supposedly to disguise his true intentions and buy himself time to verify the ghost story and plan his revenge. But as the play progresses, the line between Hamlet's performed madness and actual psychological breakdown becomes increasingly blurred. Is he really acting? Or has the burden of knowledge and the weight of revenge driven him to genuine madness? This ambiguity is one of the most fascinating aspects of the play. At the heart of Hamlet is the theme of revenge and its corrupting influence. The entire plot is driven by the question of whether Hamlet will avenge his father's murder. But Shakespeare does not present revenge as a simple or heroic act. Instead, he explores its moral complexity and psychological consequences. In the world of Hamlet, revenge is a cycle that destroys everyone it touches. Hamlet is not the only character seeking vengeance. Laertes, the son of Polonius, seeks revenge against Hamlet for killing his father and driving his sister Ophelia to madness and death. Fortinbras of Norway seeks to reclaim lands that Denmark took from his father. Each of these revenge plots results in tragedy and death. Shakespeare shows that revenge, rather than restoring justice or honor, actually perpetuates violence and suffering. Hamlet's delay in carrying out his revenge is often criticized by other characters and even by Hamlet himself. But this delay is not simply weakness or cowardice. It represents Hamlet's moral intelligence, his recognition that revenge is not as simple or righteous as it might seem. He understands that killing Claudius will not bring his father back, will not undo the sin that has been committed, and may in fact damn his own soul. This moral awareness sets Hamlet apart from more straightforward revenge heroes. The play also explores the theme of action versus inaction, thought versus deed. Hamlet is a deeply intellectual character, perhaps the most intellectual character in all of literature. He thinks constantly, analyzes everything, questions all assumptions. But this tendency toward reflection and introspection becomes a kind of paralysis. He knows what he should do, but he cannot bring himself to act. He compares himself unfavorably to other characters who act decisively, like Fortinbras or even the actor who can summon real emotion for a fictional story, while Hamlet cannot summon the will to act on his real grievances. This brings us to one of the most famous speeches in all of literature, Hamlet's soliloquy that begins to be or not to be. That is the question. In this profound meditation, Hamlet contemplates suicide, weighing the pain of existence against the unknown terrors of death. He considers whether it is nobler to endure life's suffering or to end it, but he realizes that the fear of what comes after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, makes cowards of us all. This speech is not just about suicide. It is about the fundamental human condition, about our fear of death, about the paralyzing effect of overthinking, and about the gap between thought and action. Hamlet's existential crisis is intensified by his awareness of mortality and decay. The play is filled with images of death, corruption, and the physical deterioration of the body. In one of the most striking scenes, Hamlet encounters a gravedigger and contemplates the skull of Yorick, a court jester he knew as a child. Holding the skull in his hands, Hamlet reflects on how even the greatest and most powerful people are eventually reduced to dust. Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar, conquerors of the world, now lie in the ground, their bodies decomposed, perhaps stopping a beer barrel or plugging a hole in a wall. This meditation on death is both humorous and deeply unsettling, forcing us to confront our own mortality. Shakespeare's genius in Hamlet is also evident in his creation of complex, psychologically rich characters. Hamlet himself is perhaps the most complex character in all of literature. He is brilliant, witty, melancholic, cruel, compassionate, indecisive, and philosophical. He is capable of great love as shown in his relationship with Ophelia and his friendship with Horatio, but also of terrible cruelty, as when he verbally abuses Ophelia and kills Polonius without remorse. He is both victim and perpetrator, both hero and anti-hero. His complexity makes him endlessly fascinating and allows for countless different interpretations and performances. Ophelia is one of the most tragic characters in the play. She is a young woman caught between conflicting loyalties and pressures. She loves Hamlet, but her father Polonius and her brother Laertes warn her against him. She is used as a pawn by Claudius and Polonius to spy on Hamlet, and when Hamlet realizes this, he cruelly rejects her, telling her to get herself to a nunnery. When Hamlet kills her father, Ophelia's mind breaks under the calm. Strain. Her madness is not feigned like Hamlet's, but tragically real. She wanders through the castle, singing fragmented songs about death and lost love, handing out flowers with symbolic meanings. Her eventual death by drowning, whether suicide or accident, is one of the most haunting moments in the play. Ophelia represents innocence destroyed by the corruption and violence around her. Claudius is a fascinating villain because he is not simply evil. He is a complex, human character with a conscience. Unlike many stage villains, Claudius knows that what he has done is wrong. In a powerful soliloquy, he attempts to pray and seek forgiveness for murdering his brother, but he realizes that his repentance is hollow because he still possesses the fruits of his crime, the crown, and the queen. He cannot truly repent without giving up what he gained through murder, and he is unwilling to do so. This makes him a tragic figure in his own right, a man who has damned himself with full knowledge of what he was doing. Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, is another complex character whose motivations and knowledge remain ambiguous throughout the play. Did she know about Claudius's murder of her husband? Was she complicit in the crime, or is she simply weak and easily manipulated? Shakespeare never gives us clear answers to these questions. What is clear is that her hasty remarriage to Claudius deeply wounds Hamlet and contributes to his disgust with human nature, particularly female sexuality. Hamlet's relationship with his mother is psychologically complex, and some critics have even suggested Oedipal undertones in his obsession with her sexuality and his fury at her betrayal of his father. Polonius is a comic character in some ways, a foolish old man who speaks in cliques and platitudes, but he is also dangerous. His meddling and spying contribute to the tragedy. His famous speech to his son Laertes, which includes the advice to thine own self be true, is full of conventional wisdom, but Polonius himself does not live by these principles. He is a hypocrite and a manipulator, and his death at Hamlet's hands sets in motion the final tragic cascade of events. Horatio is perhaps the most stable and trustworthy character in the play. He is Hamlet's loyal friend, the one person Hamlet can truly confide in. Horatio represents reason, loyalty, and stoic endurance. He is not driven by passion or ambition, and he survives the play's carnage to tell Hamlet's story to the world. In his final moments, Hamlet asks Horatio to stay alive and tell the truth about what happened, to clear his wounded name. This request shows how much Hamlet cares about his reputation and about being understood correctly by posterity. One of the most fascinating aspects of Hamlet is the play within a play, a theatrical device that Shakespeare uses to explore themes of appearance versus reality, performance, and the power of art. Hamlet arranges for a troupe of actors to perform a play called The Murder of Gonzago, which he has altered to mirror the circumstances of his father's murder. He watches Claudius's reaction during the performance, hoping that if Claudius is guilty, he will reveal himself through his response to the play. This scene is sometimes called the mousetrap, and it brilliantly demonstrates Shakespeare's interest in the nature of theater itself. The play within a play raises profound questions about the relationship between art and reality. Can a staged performance reveal hidden truths? Can acting be more truthful than everyday behavior? In a play where nearly every character is performing a role, hiding their true feelings, or pretending to be something they are not, the actors who openly acknowledge that they are performing are in some sense the most honest characters. Hamlet uses theater as a tool for uncovering truth, but he is also intensely aware that he himself is performing, that his madness is a kind of theatrical role. This meta-theatrical dimension adds another layer of complexity to the play. The language of Hamlet is extraordinary, even by Shakespeare's standards. The play contains some of the most famous lines ever written. Beyond to be or not to be, there are countless memorable phrases. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. The lady doth protest too much, methinks. Though this be madness, yet there is method in it. Get thee to a nunnery, good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. These lines have entered the cultural consciousness and are quoted even by people who have never read or seen the play. Shakespeare's language in Hamlet moves between different registers. Hamlet himself speaks in elevated, poetic language when he is philosophizing, in sharp, witty prose when he is bantering with others, and in fragmented, seemingly mad utterances when he is performing his madness. This linguistic versatility reflects the complexity of his character and his ability to adapt his performance to different situations and audiences. The play's language is rich with metaphor, wordplay, and double meanings, rewarding close reading and multiple viewings. Hamlet has had an immeasurable impact on world literature and culture. It has been translated into every major language and has been performed continuously since it was written. The character of Hamlet has become an archetype, the quintessential tragic hero, the intellectual paralyzed by overthinking, the sensitive soul crushed by a corrupt world. The play has influenced countless writers, from the Romantic poets to modern novelists and playwrights. Writers like Goethe, Coleridge, and T.S. Eliot all wrote extensively about Hamlet, and each generation has found new meanings and relevance in the play. The play has been adapted and reinterpreted countless times. There have been film versions ranging from Laurence Olivier's classic 1948 adaptation to Kenneth Branagh's full-text version to modern reimaginings like the 2000 Ethan Hawke version set in corporate New York. There have been adaptations that change the setting, the gender of characters, or the cultural context, from Akira Kurosawa's The Bad Sleep Well to The Lion King, which borrows key elements of Hamlet's plot. Each adaptation finds something new in the material, demonstrating the play's endless interpretive possibilities. Hamlet continues to resonate with modern audiences because it addresses universal and timeless questions. How do we respond to injustice? What is the right course of action when we face moral dilemmas? How do we deal with grief and loss? What is the meaning of life in the face of death? How do we know what is real and what is appearance? These questions are as relevant today as they were in 1600. We still struggle with the gap between thought and action, between what we know we should do and what we can bring ourselves to do. We still wrestle with questions of meaning and mortality. The character of Hamlet speaks to something fundamental in the human experience. We all sometimes feel like Hamlet, trapped in situations we cannot control, uncertain about the right course of action, aware of life's cruelty and meaninglessness, yet desperately searching for meaning anyway. Hamlet's indecision, his overthinking, his dark humor, his moments of rage and tenderness all feel deeply human and recognizable even across 4 centuries. William Shakespeare's Hamlet is a masterpiece because it combines profound philosophical depth with compelling drama, complex psychology with poetic beauty, tragedy with dark comedy. It refuses to provide easy answers to the difficult questions it raises. It shows us human beings in all their complexity, their capacity for love and cruelty, wisdom and foolishness, nobility and baseness. It reminds us that we live in a world where appearance and reality are often at odds, where the truth is difficult to know, and where our actions have consequences we cannot always foresee. In the end, Hamlet is a tragedy in the fullest sense. Nearly everyone dies. Hamlet finally achieves his revenge, killing Claudius, but only after Gertrude, Laertes, and Hamlet himself have been fatally poisoned. The play ends with the arrival of Fortinbras, who will restore order to Denmark, but at what cost? An entire generation has been destroyed by the cycle of revenge and corruption. Yet even in this bleakness, there is something redemptive in Hamlet's final moments, in his friendship with Horatio, in his concern for his reputation. In his acceptance of death, he achieves a kind of peace, recognizing that there is a divinity that shapes our ends, that we cannot control everything, and that readiness is all. Thanks for watching this deep dive into Shakespeare's Hamlet. If you enjoyed this exploration of one of the greatest works of literature ever written, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below with your thoughts on Hamlet, your favorite moment from the play, or which classic work you'd like me to explore next. Until next time, keep reading, keep questioning, and keep exploring the timeless works that help us understand what it means to be human.